She linked a document. She even has a or no, this is Cupid's PowerPoint. Like, dude, just remove this. Like, Riot, dude, just remove it already. You got these cringe losers trying to.
So Season 14 has brought back the double support tech that you might have seen if you're familiar from seasons past, although it takes on a different form because of the new World Atlas line. So in this video, I wanted to just go over the way the strategy works, why it's kind of a problem, as it always is, and then how to potentially remedy it in our games, and potentially even how to fix this from a Riot game dev perspective, although there's a lot of options there. So starting off with the build itself. So we're looking at World Atlas. This build basically, this tech was basically started off of a player named Cupid who is on NA. They basically, from my understanding, they basically pioneered this sort of tech, and the idea behind it is just similar to last time. You kind of just buy World Atlas, and then keep in mind the specific restrictions with the item here. So it's Relic and Spell Thieves now into one item, but that's not the important part. I believe they changed the way the gold reduction works from minions, where before 5 minutes, if you kill 7 CS or more, it reduces your gold by 80%, which is very significant, right? But the idea is to actually buy the item after 5 minutes, after, let's say, wave 4 or 5, or you base or something like that. You are subject to the second condition, which is after 5 minutes, you can kill 4 minions per minute, and then after that, then the gold for minions is reduced from 50 to 80%, which is not even as bad as the previous reduction. I don't even know why this is implemented beforehand. This might be for funnel, relating to like Taric E strats from like the past, but clearly this clause is not enough, and players are abusing this because there's been math done behind this as well. Like, thank God I didn't have to do this shit, because now I can just look at it, and there's clearly a lot of people looking at it, and it basically goes through the gold output of the World Atlas line, and specifically Bloodsong, which it goes into. And this is the biggest abuser of this sort of item, of this sort of support line, because it is a great damage item, specifically on many champions. And the idea is you just both farm. You're skipping a lot of the caster minions because the World Atlas line gives you passive gold generation, especially when it upgrades into Runic Compass. So it's 5 gold per 10. It offsets the fact that you're skipping casters, so you're not going to be subject to this minion debuff. And then your ally, who's also taking the support item, can hook you up with the cannon minions and whatnot. And that's basically the fundamental concept behind this. Then one or both of you could get Bloodsong because it's a great damage item, and then you'll have 2 Sightstones available. And this, like before, results in an exceedingly insane amount of map control because you have so many wards, and then you can just skip farming, and then you can just have really weird macro situations where you're just skipping waves and just playing for fights, and you can kind of just hold your hands and have these like very easy to pilot front to back comms. You know, it's been used a lot with enchanters because it's very notorious for this. You can kind of just not interact in lane, just nuke the wave whatever you can, and then hit your scaling strides and just win pretty much. So I'll leave this. This is not my sheet, obviously. I found this, but I'll leave this in the description for anybody that's interested. Basically, it works out the math, and the mindset is to treat it like a call. But the idea here is that it's going to be more gold, more value, and more options. It's just objectively better. And touching on Bloodsong now, which is a bit more of an issue, I would say, and gives more options for this type of build, because now with Bloodsong, it's effectively a Sheen item from the support line, which not only does that, but has the Even Shroud passive when you hit with Sheen. So when you hit someone with the Sheen proc, it gives them exposed weakness, which is increased damage on that target, which basically makes it extremely valuable for something that's only effectively 400 gold, right? There's so many champions that can take advantage of this, and it makes it really effective on even champions that don't normally build it. So you can go an AD carry that doesn't need to interact, right? Anybody that uses Sheen, Ezreal, even Vayne. I believe MF was also quoted as a decent example of this. And you kind of just go for it, and you just deal a lot of damage. You just get a lot of random gold for doing nothing. So the issue is that it's very oppressive. There's not much skill expression involved, of course. And there's a lot of people talking about this, and the pros and cons and things of that. So how to counter it? Just countering it, I would say the main strategies that I can think of is either matching it, which is that a solution? I can't really. That's up for you to decide, because if you can't beat him, join him. But 2 is to just kind of shit on them in the other game. A lot of these strats involve around giving yourself time to scale and outvalue the enemy, and the idea here is to kind of just blow the game open before it gets to that point, and then you don't have to worry about it, right? If you're playing really aggressive lanes like kill lanes like Samira, Leona, or any bot lane combo that can enable a lot of pressure on this bot lane, it is very possible. But I mean, there's definitely counters to this as well. Like if you just went uncounterable combos with like Seraphine Braum, or like any like Ezreal and Braum, and it's just really hard to deal with. I'm sure there's ways to counter even what I'm saying here, which is why this is a problem, and they're probably going to hotfix this. When it comes to actually fixing it, there's a lot of ways it could do it. I'll just provide a few suggestions, and I'm not Riot Games, and this is not my decision, but I'm just going to give some examples of what they could do. They could nerf some of the potential items with it. So specifically Bloodsong is probably the most oppressive, but even some of these other ones are pretty strong. They could just nerf the overall power of these, and by like significantly, which is not ideal, but that would be one option. Another one would also be limiting the support item to actually 1 per team. This is a more controversial one, because this would probably get rid of support funneling for the rest of time, but this gives agency to your teammates in order to troll you, because if someone else just buys it for fun, you can't buy it. So I'm not sure what the logistics or setting up of that situation would be, but that's not my job, so I'm just giving options. And the last one is probably making the CS restrictions extremely tight on the support line, so that this doesn't happen. So like it's just an all-inclusive sort of clause. So let's say that we nerf the gold generation. Sorry, this is the main one. We nerf the gold generation. We just make it like 2 minions. If it's like 2 minions per minute or something like that, even 1, like just really prevent supports from going for it and just getting any CS, or like preventing any of this funnel business. Because I know Riot wants to hold back on these strategies because it feels bad for supports to not get gold from farming anything, but at this point I think it's just kind of necessary and should really be something to consider. I mean, they've done something similar in the past where like Pyke mid was so oppressive where the E does no damage to the wave at that point, and then they just completely gutted it, and people were still okay with that. That's not as aggressive as this, but the principle is still there. So that's pretty much the mindset behind this strategy. Let me know what you guys think. See ya.